I walked out of the theater after watching The Iron Claw, and I remember it deeply affecting me. It's such a sad, sad movie that it's one of those movies where you watch it and it's so well done and so deeply affecting that you just you can't watch anything for the rest of the day. Like I couldn't consume any more media after that.
The Von Erichs, a family of professional wrestlers who gained fame in the 1980s, are profiled in The Iron Claw, based on a true story.
It's so well done that I can't recommend it enough. I found it gripping, even with its slower, deliberate pace. Um, the acting is fantastic. The cinematography, the way the filmmaker made it look like the movie was shot in this late 70s, early 80s. It's a movie about family, fraternity, uh, drug addiction, alcoholism, and suicide. It's it's a hard movie to watch, but it is worth watching. Zac Efron's physical transformation for me is on par with like Christian Bale's physical transformation in The Machinist, except he went the other way with instead of just losing so much weight and becoming, emaciated, he gained so much muscle. And I don't know if he had to use steroids to get there or just worked out 3 times a day and just ate the most protein you can.
I let me ask you this,
Yeah.
because I think for him it's probably going to be a career performance.
Yes.
I'm That's just kind of my guess,
Yep.
because he is pretty young. But do you think that he should have been nominated for an Academy Award and was robbed, or
Was he robbed? There's only so many spots every year. Um, and for whatever reason, this fantastic movie got overlooked. It happens. Um, was he robbed? No. It just happens sometimes where a performance or a movie just gets overlooked because of timing or no one saw it. But all of the acting is fantastic. Zac Efron, Jeremy Allen White, the father who played Fritz von Erich, Holt McCanny, and Moira Tierney as the mom, Doris. They're all of them were so good. The director is Sean Durkin, also wrote it. He I think he wrote and directed Marcy May Marlene. Um, Maybe that was 10 years ago. I watched professional wrestling in the late 80s when I was a kid, and I'd never heard of the Von Erich brothers or the Von Erich family. And this is a wrestling movie that isn't a wrestling movie. It's one of those. It's like a sport movie, but it's not really about the sport. Like Moneyball isn't really a baseball movie, although it is. There are scenes of professional wrestling in the movie, but there's the movie's not really about that. It's about the family of the Von Erichs. And I looked online after I went and saw the movie because I'd never heard of the Von Erichs or the Von Erichs curse. There was a whole nother brother that's not in this movie. I don't know why he wasn't. I think so. There was a whole nother brother who also, I if I remember tragically died. And it's kind of like they took one of the brothers and made him both.
Yeah,
Um,
I saw the director talk about it and just say, for story reasons,
for
they
maybe for
cut out the
time
brother.
reasons. Okay.
That, but also he didn't feel, well, it's hard to believe that there's so much tragedy in this family, right? But for he didn't want it to feel repetitive or redundant, even
Mm,
though more than one brother committed suicide. And
yeah.
you know, but I also like the movie, and I agree that it's also very sad, and that's probably one reason why it kind of got overlooked. But
Mm,
for another reason you just mentioned, I think it got overlooked, and that is people our age who grew up with the WWF,
hmm.
and we're familiar with Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant and whatnot, and Ric Flair, who has a small role in this movie.
Yes.
Um, but I never heard of the Von Erich family either.
Hmm.
And I think maybe that's a reason why this movie got overlooked, because it's not about those iconic figures from the 80s.
Right.
I'm thinking that I know that Chris Hemsworth is making a biopic of Hulk Hogan,
Okay.
and Hulk Hogan, I feel that movie is probably going to get a lot more coverage and a lot more people going to see it for that reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas this movie, right, the Von Erichs, people aren't very familiar with them, and so they didn't.
People that really loved wrestling in the 70s and 80s, they know who the Von Erichs were. But yeah, I'd never heard of
And
them. Yeah.
that's probably a minority of serious film goers,
Yes,
right?
definitely.
Seeking out art house type of movies would be familiar with them. But it's definitely worth seeing. And like I said, Zach Efron gives a career performance, I think. And yeah, after the movie, I turned to my wife. I was like, "That is a very sad movie," but but I liked it. Um,
Yeah, I remember walking out like almost electrified. Like I just saw a movie that could be nominated for Best Picture and could be
mhm,
nominated for Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor, and maybe even multiple roles for Best Supporting for the father
mhm.
and maybe for Jeremy Allen White. Um, just that, getting into spoiler territory.
Oh
Um,
well, okay. So
oh,
I think it's clear we both see it on
oh,
this movie.
definitely see it. 100% see
Even
it.
though it's sad, it's still worth investing yourself in.
Yes. If you like really good movies, you should see it. Just know that it's a tragedy.
Mm, yeah,
But getting into the spoiler territory,
yeah.
um, so all of Zac Efron's brothers end up dying. Um, even I think the oldest brother died when he was a kid. I can't remember how. It's like he gets sick and he dies at whatever, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old. And he was the eldest. And then all these, big, strong athletes grow up and their father is very demanding, wants them to be wrestlers just like he was. But so near the end, when Jeremy Allen White's character commits suicide, he will, there's a scene in like the Iron Claw heaven where all of the brothers that have passed meet, and it really helped me because it's just death after death after death, and that's what the movie is for so much of the movie, and it's just like it's so sad, and so just beautiful. It's a beautiful movie. But that scene where the dead brothers all are alive and get to see each other, um, Yeah, I cried. I cried in the theater. Um,
I think the ending, the very ending, is also a
oh,
little, or it tries to be uh happy, like a happy ending, because you
mm-hmm.
see that, he and his wife stayed together. They had like 4 kids, and then now he has a ton of grandchildren, and they all live on the same ranch or compound together, which was one of his dreams,
Yep,
so to
yep.
speak. So I felt that was a nice way to end the movie. The fact that
That
he
it's
pulled
he
through,
pulled through, and the curse it was
lifted.
lifted. Yeah, there wasn't really a curse. It was
Mm.
this insane competition to be the best wrestler and to be their father's favorite son. And that there's that. I think in the father's first scene at the breakfast table, the father says like something like, "Oh well, what's his head is definitely my favorite son, and then it's you, and then it's your other brother, and then it's your other brother. But the rankings can always change." And I just remember in the theater, I was just like, "Oh, what is happening? What is this family about? Like, this is the first scene, and the dad has like clear delineated favorites."
Something that you just mentioned kind of reminded me of one of my, maybe my only criticism of this movie, or one of the few.
Okay,
And I'm not sure, we can see if you think it's valid or not. And that was the depiction of the parents. Now, maybe they were like that in real life, so that would that would make my feeling kind of invalid. But
mm,
I felt that, the father is the overbearing parent, really pushing the kids hard. That's certainly something that happens in real life. So, with sports figures, but we've
sure,
seen it a lot in plenty of other movies. And then you've got the mother's the detached religious parent who has, offers no emotional support. And we've also seen that in these kinds of movies. So to me, the parents were kind of towing the line between sports movie cliches, I guess. Um, but if they were like that in real life, then I guess that's not so much of a valid criticism.
well, I mean, I think those stereotypes exist because those stereotypes exist in real life. Everything from like, uh, like the dad who played college football and then wants all of his sons to play, or high school football. Oh, you got to play high school football because I played high school football and I love football, and I'll drive you to practice, those 2 a days because I remember loving it and you're going to love it. And those are going to be your best friends for the rest of your life, just like those were my best friends, Um, that kind of stuff happens. And then it's Texas in the 70s, and those parents probably got married in the 60s. And yeah, it's a very traditional household where the mom, she she's a stay-at-home mom. She cooks and cleans, and she makes sure that they're all at church on Sunday morning. Um, and she defers to the husband about mostly everything. Um,
Did it bother you that there are really only two female roles in this movie, that of the mother and that of the love interest?
right, Zac
And
Efron's wife, right? Yeah.
the love interest gets a lot more time and character investment than the mother. Um, so the cast is very male centric, and I wonder, do you think that, is that an issue at all? Was
I
that
mean, it's
problematic?
it's all brothers, and they're all wrestlers. So they're around, guys their whole lives. in gyms, and it. Um, no, I mean,
I wonder, it could have been a reason that some people didn't bother to go see it.
I think the biggest reason why people didn't go see it was probably the actor strike, and they couldn't do a lot of publicity. And the movie came out after the strike, and it was probably just the studio or the company didn't want to spend enough money on advertising, and that it's a professional wrestling movie, and a lot of older Academy voters aren't going to watch that movie, and we're never going to watch that movie because they don't care about fake wrestling. Um, I did like the behind the scenes, um, before the wrestlers go out and do their thing. They kind of talk about the strategy of how the fight's going to go, and whoever is going to win is already decided. And then there's one wrestling scene with Zac Efron, and I can't remember the character. It wasn't Ric Flair. It was someone else. He said, "I'm going to do this thing, and then I'm going to do this." And Zac Efron's great, great, great. And then he throws him out of the ring, and he didn't tell him he was going to do that. And Zac Efron hit the concrete, and the wind gets knocked out of him. But he's still supposed to like win that fight, and he's in terrible pain, and you can see, and he barely gets back. And at the end, we cut to the locker room, and his dad is angry at him, like, you needed to get up faster. He's like, well, he didn't tell me he was going to throw me out onto the concrete, and I got thrown out, and I wouldn't. What am I supposed to do, Dad? And I found that interesting because, of course, that's going to happen. It's scripted, but not really, because you're still getting hurt. Um,
Do you know if they did all their own stunts?
oh, I don't know. Some of it was clearly Zac Efron, but then other stuff, you can always hide that.
Right, but
Yeah.
because Zac Efron had to put on even more muscle for the role, and then doing all that wrestling stuff is, I'm sure, quite physical too.
Oh my
So,
God. Yeah.
um,
I'm sure there's some days when he went home from set bruised and scraped and in pain.
last thing I'll say about this movie is there may be some comparisons of it to The Wrestler, which was a lot more popular when that movie came out.
Yeah.
Because, right, you know how many dramatic wrestling movies get made, right?
That's true.
Um, and between the two, I think I like The Wrestler better. Um, and that also had probably, career performance by
Mickey
Mickey
Rourke.
Rourke.
Yep.
Um, and it's also tragic in its own way.
Yep.
But it really got you rooting for him, right? At the end of that movie. Well,
Yeah.
that movie, I get, being fictional, it kind of falls more in line with the underdog trying to, have a comeback and whatnot. But I think I like that movie a little better. But this is a good movie.
It's a great movie. But yeah, both those movies are great movies. And yes, I recommend both. They're wrestling. Both of them are wrestling movies, but not really about wrestling. It's
Mm.
about the characters, the people.
All right, that was The Iron Claw. Thanks for watching.